chasing a high-flying hunter in the Pacific, a mammoth Mako shark.
Going away? Man.
Oh, dude, he's right there. He's chasing us.
Hang on.
Wrangling a silver king on the fly, a titanic leaping tarpon.
All right, are we ready?
Hitting a shark-infested reef to tag the ultimate underwater flying monster, a massive manta ray.
It's just like putting a very sharp knife into butter.
And a deadly showdown. A life-or-death clash of man versus black marlin, impaling a young angler's head.
Oh my God.
I didn't know if he was going to live.
In the name of science and sport, it's the most extreme encounters of man versus fish. Unhooked, flying monsters. Leaping out of our rivers and oceans, they're the ultimate deadly daredevils. To kill or fight for their own survival, these amazing aerial acrobats take to the skies. And on the hunt or on the run, when these phenomenal fish fly, they defy gravity. How do they become top guns? In astounding encounters face to face, we uncover the secrets of these flying whoppers.
When we look at the body of a fish, we see a body shape that is highly streamlined, in the same way that an airplane is streamlined. What is good in water is also very good for movement in air.
Add a lethal weapon to the daredevil design, and you've got airborne alpha predators. In some battles of man versus fearsome flying fish, a leaping beast can push the fight to the killer edge, taking human flesh, risking an angler's life. Peñas Bay, Panama, July 7th, 2005. Bob Schultz is an international sport fisherman, but this South American trip is special. His children, Stephen and Allison, are along for the ride.
This is lovely. Here's my dad taking the photo.
I wanted to get both of them down there to just spend 8 hours a day with me in a boat and not have any place else to go.
Say hello.
No phones, no cell phones, no TVs, just dad time.
Bob's hope is to pass along his passion for pulling in monster fish, especially one of the most coveted of all, black marlin, known in this fishing mecca as His Majesty.
They're powerful jumpers, leapers. They really put on a show.
Meet their target, black marlin. In an ocean battleground, these hunters attack prey with aeronautical speed and a brutal, jutting javelin.
They have that bill, and that bill is extremely sharp, and various billfish have actually been known to puncture the hulls of wooden boats.
Record-setting marlins stretch over 4 meters, weighing in at almost 700 kilos. Yet their super size doesn't slow them down. These cruising commandos hunt like radar-guided missiles, hitting speeds nearly 130 kilometers an hour. Pouncing on prey at the water's surface, behemoth body muscle and kinetic energy send them soaring straight out of the water.
So marlin can jump about 10 feet out of the water, and that's pretty remarkable when you consider the size of the animal. These are very big fish, and so to actually develop enough thrust to drive themselves out of the water to such a height is a fairly great accomplishment.
And once they're flying, marlin can keep going. Seen from the surface, these bounding beasts look like they're skimming along the ocean, a spectacle known as greyhounding. And above or below the water, the black marlin is always poised for an attack, with a little help from these. It's estimated black marlin bills can stretch nearly a full meter. Yet incredibly, their bills are actually upper jaws that jut out like flesh-stabbing swords.
It's actually its upper jaw that forms this large sword or bill on the front.
For someone who's trying to bring a marlin in, it's important to actually get a handle on that bill, to control that, keep it from flailing around and potentially being impaled by it.
For any angler, taking on a black marlin is a serious test of skill that can take a turn for the terrifying.
Marlin look like pure muscle. They're just really thickly built fish. They fight back. You can't almost hold on to the rod sometimes because they're so strong.
Now back in the boat, the Schultz family has no way of knowing their fishing trip is about to turn into a nightmare. Nearly 50 kilometers out to sea, the crew sets bait and casts into the ocean. Allison documents the trip on her video camera.
Now you getting some pictures?
Yeah, I'm getting all of it on video.
At first, no one's having any luck.
I ate the bait.
Then suddenly, Stephen's rod starts singing. He's got something strong. Stephen grabs hold and starts fighting. But as he struggles to keep control, the pull is intense, more powerful than anything he's ever felt.
I knew it was the biggest fish I had caught thus far in my life. Even catching sailfish wasn't like that. It was just pulling so differently and so hard.
In a flash, the fish makes a giant leap out of the water. It's a monster black marlin, soaring like a missile.
The first jump was awesome because I'd never seen a fish that big in real life. And I was kind of shocked and awed by it, and really intimidated by the size of it because I was afraid that that's what I was going to be reeling in.
And I saw the thing completely clear the water, and it was humongous.
Stephen braces himself for an epic battle. Mammoth marlin will fight to the death.
You have to pace yourself to fight the fish for that long. I was ready to just, use every muscle in my body.
But after an exhausting 30 minutes, Stephen's arms are burning with fatigue. Trying to stay focused, he has no idea what's going on underwater.
We hadn't seen the fish in 15 minutes, so we didn't know exactly where it was or how far away it was.
Feeling a sharp tug on the line, Stephen senses the marlin is agitated below. He and Bob scan the water, anxious to see the beast's next move. In an instant, the fish bursts from the water, right next to the boat. Even as Stephen fights to stay hooked, the family's thrilled to see His Majesty, the black marlin, up close. The incredible animal dives back down and once again takes a giant leap. But something's very wrong. In a sickening split second, it's clear the marlin is flying straight at Stephen. Trapped moments from impact, time seems to stand still.
When the fish was coming in the boat, I realized that it was going to hit me, and I just didn't really give myself any time to react because I didn't think it was real.
I don't think it was an errant jump. They're apex predators. Nobody messes with them, This fish got messed with, and I think it just said, we're gonna get you.
Oh my God, oh my God.
The thrashing marlin's huge, an estimated 2.5 meters long and a whopping 270 kilos, big enough to do lethal damage to Stephen's head. It flies head on, stabbing Stephen in the face with its bill.
I woke up on the deck of the boat, and I was getting pulled into the corner, and the mates rushed over, cut the line.
As the crew cuts the line, Bob rushes to his son.
I didn't know if he was going to live. He was screaming in pain. I grabbed a towel and I shoved a towel on his face. And I honestly couldn't look at that point.
And the situation gets worse. The boat isn't equipped with emergency supplies. Trapped at sea, hours from civilization, Bob does his best to keep his son calm as the ship races back to shore. But with each passing second, Stephen Schultz is on borrowed time. Lacerated through the mouth by a 270-kilo flying black marlin, young angler Stephen Schultz fights for survival as his family races him miles back to shore. Back on land, Stephen's flown to a hospital in Panama City. All told, it's been 5 hours since the marlin strike, and Stephen's ordeal is far from over. X-rays reveal 4 broken facial bones. Deep lacerations cut through the angler's mouth and throat. And now there's an even deadlier risk: infection. Marlin bills are covered in bacteria. Stephen's doctors administer Cipro, an antibiotic so powerful it's used to fight anthrax.
The marlin's bill went in my mouth, hit me in the back of the throat, came across my wisdom tooth scars that had just gotten removed, and tore up the upper part of my cheek, and then cut my cheek on the way out. It took about a month and a half for me to heal completely. That's all I'm thinking about.
Though Stephen made a full recovery, some wounds take longer to heal.
Stephen was very close to being killed that day.
Oh my God.
I can tell you that for the first couple of years, I thought about it every day. Every day.
Today, father and son hold no grudge against the marlin. They continue to enjoy fishing trips around the world, though they take a few more precautions, especially around large billfish.
I think we both have a newfound respect for marlin and what they're capable of. Our fishing experience has always been a good bonding time for us, and nothing's really changed, just we're a little bit more cautious when the fish get close.
Around the world, each flying fish species is its own aeronautical specialist with unique and astounding aerial techniques. In Brazil's Amazon River, some predators take flight like surface-to-air missiles. Here, these seemingly common fish called matrinxa are leaping hunters. Zeroing in on their prey, they fire out of the water, hit their target, and head home.
They've specialized on going after prey organisms that are simply hanging out on tree limbs. In this way, by leaping out of the water, they can catch those animals.
But matrinxa aren't the only fish that fly to go after the kill. Deep in another flying fish destination, an angler's ready to take on an epic battle of fishermen versus airborne beast. Puerto Real Bay, Puerto Rico, January 6, 2007. Greg Gibson's a globe-trotting fly fisherman. He's chased everything from northern pike in Manitoba to bonefish in the Bahamas. But here in the Caribbean, Greg has one goal. A catch-and-release angler, Greg wants to land a titanic tarpon on a fly.
The challenge that the tarpon brings, not only the initial hookup, which is by far the most exciting, but to get a fish over 100 pounds into the boat with a fly line is, I think, just an achievement.
Greg's fearsome flying adversary? Meet the tarpon. In the choice of fight or flight, these aerial whoppers take flight to new heights. To avoid predator attacks, these acrobats cut through the sky like stealth bombers, landing where their opponents least expect them.
If you have a predator which is in the water, probably the safest place to be is out of the water. So the ability to jump out of the water, to move to some other location that maybe the predator can't see where you're going is a real advantage.
Nicknamed the Silver King for their shimmering scales, tarpon grow massive, over 2 meters long and nearly 140 kilos. And when it comes to flying, tarpon can soar up to 3 meters out of the water. These leaping beasts have an air-breathing advantage. Like the intake on a jet engine, a modified swim bladder draws in outside air, allowing tarpon to keep breathing and hunting in shallow, low-oxygen environments where other fish die.
There's actually a tiny duct that connects the swim bladder to the gut. Now that's a real advantage for the tarpon because what it means is it could also potentially use that swim bladder as sort of a lung and get extra oxygen.
And one thing's certain, for any angler who dares to battle these flying fish in the flesh, hooked tarpon fight back in a leaping, epic fight to the finish.
When he comes out of the water, he's twisting and turning his body in every direction, and he's maybe 5 or 6 feet out of the water. It's an explosion.
Oh my, I got that, dude.
Here in Puerto Real Bay, Greg teams up with local tarpon guide Francisco Pochi Rosario.
Hey, Senor Pochi. Doing, Greg? Mi amigo, how are you?
So renowned, he's nicknamed the Tarpon Hombre.
Catching a big tarpon or fly is like a holy grail for the fly fishing angler. What you try to do all your life.
Speeding out, Pochi heads toward a nearby tarpon hangout. As his guide anchors the boat, Greg warms up with a few casts.
Hopefully we can catch a big one, a couple of them.
I'm a lucky fisherman. I guarantee you we're gonna hook some tarpon.
Oh, tarpon, right behind the boat. Right behind the boat, right behind the boat.
How far?
Big fish.
Suddenly, Pochi spots a group of tarpon.
Right there, man.
He calls out to Greg.
Right side, right there, about 75 feet.
Greg focuses hard.
There we go.
Casts his fly. And misses. Quickly reeling in, Greg repositions and casts again. In a burst, the fish leaps from the water and snatches the fly. It's huge.
When he came out of the water the first time, it's when we realized this is a very, very big fish. Then the anxiety starts kicking in is can I hold on to this thing?
Oh, yeah, he's strong. Yeah, man. I saw the fish and I said, Greg, oh, Greg, you have a lifetime fish.
Greg widens his stance and braces himself, waiting for the tarpon to take flight once again.
I can't get over how strong he is, man. He's just got me doubled over here.
In a rush, the fish jumps and thrashes, flashing its signature silver scales. Greg knows the battle's just begun.
And then it's just hanging on, because as soon as they take the fly and they realize they're hooked, they start dancing on top of the water, coming out of the water, and trying to do everything in their power to get off.
Trying to shake free, the fish jumps again and again. Each leap seems higher than the last, and Greg is struggling just to stay in the fight.
When a tarpon jumps, they call it bowing to the king. You need to bow your body and your line and keep it low to the water so he can't spit the fly out.
The tug of war rages for a back-breaking 2 hours. Exhausted, Greg's whole body's sore, but he refuses to quit.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Then, the fish shows the first sign of fatigue, surfacing for air.
When they come up to the surface, you have a sense of relief that things are getting closer and we might be able to get this fish into the boat here soon.
But it's not over yet. In a back-breaking 2-hour fight to the finish, expert fly angler Greg Gibson struggles to reel a whopper-sized fighting tarpon to his boat. Refusing to give up, the beast dives back down. Greg's amazed by the tarpon's tenacity, but he's just as determined. He gathers his strength and gives a forceful pull. In an instant, the fish appears next to the boat.
Okay, Greg, the fish.
Greg's got it.
Okay, I got him right here.
Okay, got him. Okay,
Leaning down, the angler can't believe his eyes.
The one thing I noticed right away when we got the fish close to the boat was the enormous size of his head and the size of his eyes. It was just incredible. I just was in awe.
Give me the leader. Give me the leader.
Time is critical. Greg and fishing guide Pochi Rosario want to measure the fish before releasing the animal alive.
You can just feel the strength of this fish. Even after a 2-hour and 20-minute fight, the fish, just picking him up, he's just nothing but muscle.
Grabbing hold of the beast with a massive heave, the two anglers manage to land it. At last, the monster tarpon's in the boat. At more than 2 meters long, 1 meter around, and an estimated 100 kilos, the whopper's nearly bigger than both Pochi and Greg.
It was unbelievable. Hold it and take the photo and everything that, take the measure and everything.
We've had a thrill of a lifetime with this fish, and now we want to make sure that we release it alive.
To protect species survival, Puerto Rican regulations stipulate all anglers must release tarpon back where they came from. Greg carefully lowers the fish into the water and holds it while Pochi gets the boat cruising. Running water through the gills delivers reviving oxygen. Finally, with a push, the titanic tarpon swims off. For Greg, it's a fly fishing catch and release of a career.
We saw him swimming down into the deeps of the water, head down, tail up, and there's a sense of accomplishment there.
Across an ocean, when other whoppers take flight, they're like seafaring stunt pilots. Deep in the Pacific, when spinner dolphins rocket into the sky, some speculate their splashdown is designed to shake off pesky parasites called remorse. Unwelcome passengers trying to catch a free ride on a dolphin's back. Yet, when it comes to physical finesse, dolphins have some stiff competition. In another flying fish lair, combine aeronautics with aggression, and you have these fearsome and ferocious killers. Apex predators who push their lethal leaps to the frightening limit. The last thing unlucky prey sees before death. The Mako shark.
As Mako sharks leap from the water, they're going to come out sort of almost like a missile. These animals may actually do flips as they're coming out. They may actually roll.
Stretching longer than 3 meters, weighing nearly half a ton. Thanks to a combination of brutal weaponry and blazing fast speed, Mako sharks reach petrifying proportions. Row upon row of razor-sharp, dagger-like teeth allow Makos to bite into big meals. But it's their sleek hydrodynamic shape and powerful propulsion system that lets them catch up to almost any kill.
Mako sharks patrol through the water until they encounter a fish, and then they will just use their burst of speed to attack.
In and out of water, Mako bodies are built for the high-speed hunt. Tendons connect masses of oxygen-rich muscle tissue to a sickle-shaped tail fin. Rhythmic contractions work like pistons, generating powerful thrust to catapult Makos to high speed and high altitude.
You need all that force, all that thrust, in order to drive the animal through the surface of the water and up to the heights that it can attain.
And their flight plan is terrifying. Makos scout victims swimming above them and kill from underneath. Shooting upwards, clamping onto prey at maximum velocity, they break the surface in stunning and deadly displays.
These animals have been known to leap out of the water as far as 15 to 20 feet above the water surface, which is fairly incredible for any animal.
Fishermen battling these ferocious flying whoppers know, hook a Mako and you're in for one of the wildest rides in the ocean.
They're incredible fighters, and they jump. When they run 300 yards out and do a double backflip 15 feet out of the air, and that's what it's all about.
San Diego, California, August 27, 2006. Believed to be a Mako shark breeding ground, this bayside nursery is home to juvenile sharks. Anglers flock to catch these small-scale jumpers, but few dare to battle the largest Mako on Earth, nicknamed by anglers as a Big Mama. Yet for avid fisherman Brendan Mason and Captain Dave Trimble, it's the ultimate challenge, a mighty Mako caught on a fly.
I first came to San Diego to try to fish for Mako sharks because I'd heard about the fishery here, and I just wanted to give it a shot.
Steaming out to a prime spot, Dave drops a bait bucket filled with oily fish. Like a deep-sea dinner bell, hungry sharks within hundreds of meters can smell the tempting feast. At first, no luck.
It started out slow, and it seemed like it might be a bust.
Then,
oh, look in the chum slick. Here one comes, man. Right there.
The strategy works. Captain Dave spots a Mako cruising in.
We need the biggest frog you got there.
Brendan gets ready to cast. Until something goes wrong. The shark suddenly disappears. Baffled, the men scan the water.
Hey, where'd it go? I don't see it.
Wondering what spooked the shark.
Hey, where'd it go?
Oh my gosh, look at that one.
Then they see it. A massive fin just meters from the boat. They can only imagine the size of the beast below. A Mako, bigger than any they've ever seen.
Everybody kind of just froze for a second, and we realized what we had to deal with.
All of us on board were just kind of shocked. You know, sitting there with our jaws open.
And even more shocking, the behemoth shark is moving directly towards them. Suddenly, in a blur of jaws and teeth, it bites down, shattering the floating bait bucket.
It was actually creepy to watch because its teeth would come out and its eyes would roll back in its head and it would just crush the bucket and you'd hear plastic snapping.
And it gets scarier. Finished with the bucket, the hunting shark now begins bearing down on the boat.
As its mouth opened up and its lips curled back and its teeth came out and it started to chew on the motor, I was wondering if the motor could take it at that point because of the pressure of the jaws.
In a frenzy, the Mako gnaws repeatedly at the engine. Stuck in shark-infested waters, the men pray the ship will hold And the shark won't go after bigger prey. Acting quickly, Brendan casts his fly, hoping to lure the biting Mako away from the boat. Success. In a flash, the fish whips its head and chomps down.
You ate it, yes, we got him.
But the hook only agitates the Mako more. As Brendan sets the fly, the whopper shark shoots from the water. The men hold their breath as the Mako flips a full 360 degrees before diving back down.
They don't just jump and fall back in the water. They actually flip, and a lot of times they're going head first back in, right where they came out.
To see a fish that big come completely out of the water, inverted and doing a backflip is something real special. A lot of people don't get to witness something like that.
Now, as the shark pulls the boat, each powerful run ends in a stunning aerial display.
We could see this shark jumping way off in the distance. It made probably 5 or 6 jumps in a row, coming completely out of the water, doing backflips.
For Brendan, still hooked to the charging flying beast, the fight is on. The angler uses all his strength to hold on to the rod, trying to keep up and stay rooted on deck. He prays the tug-of-war will end before his body gives out.
In that type of fight, really, the thing that keeps you going is knowing that you're fighting what could easily be the biggest fish you're ever going to catch in your life. And you just can't quit.
Angler Brendan Mason's in the fight of his life against a massive flying Mako shark. After battling a grueling 40 minutes, as the Mako starts to tire, the fish's leaps grow fewer and far between. Brendan's fishing buddy Dave pushes Brendan to hang on a little longer and reel the beast to the boat. But Brendan's feeling the strain. Using the last of his energy, he gives a powerful yank and gets the shark up close. He's finally face to face with his mammoth Mako. Looking down on the super specimen, the anglers can't believe their eyes. They estimate the Mako's a staggering 3.5 meters long, weighing over 270 kilos, a possible world record fly catch, if they bring the shark to shore. Yet both men are committed to catch and release, and they know the sooner they set the Mako free, the better its chances of survival. To save the shark, the men quickly cut the line, and their chance at a world record. They watch as the mighty beast kicks its tail and swims away.
The feeling as I was cutting the wire is undescribable. It was probably the biggest fish in the world ever caught and released on fly tackle.
The most epic fishing trip I've ever been on.
Right on, man. Yeah, got him, man. Good work, man.
For Brendan, the biggest thrill of the day is knowing his Mako is still swimming and repopulating in the wild.
I practice catch and release almost exclusively. I think it's really important, especially in a place like San Diego where the Mako sharks come to breed. It's like a nursery for sharks, and it's probably also one of the places where they're most susceptible to overfishing.
But a world away, some flying species are the ultimate gravity-defying group, the hatchetfish. In Brazil's Amazon River, when hatchetfish sense an approaching predator, they fling themselves to safety in the air, launching over 3 meters above the surface. For a hatchetfish school, changing location could mean the difference between life and becoming another fish's dinner. Yet a different flying fish works under the motto, one for all. Across a continent, another flying fish haven lures fishermen to battle. And for one team of brothers, going up against a mammoth beast pushes them to the edge of endurance. Fraser River, British Columbia, August 19th, 2007. brothers Mike and Gino DiDomenico book a weekend fishing trip with Captain Brian McKinley. Their plan is to catch wild salmon, but Captain Brian convinces the men to go for a far more elusive and extraordinary challenge: white sturgeon.
I had seen sturgeon before and I knew how big they got, and I was excited.
White sturgeon are a formidable flying adversary. Flying is in their DNA. Incredibly, these lone fish pilots soar to save their own species. Some believe these leaping leviathans are masters of in-flight communication, conveying life-saving coordinates by taking to the air. Monster sturgeon can stretch longer than a surfboard, over 3 meters, topping the scales at well over half a ton. Killers since the Cretaceous period, 100 million years ago, sturgeon are prehistoric survivors. Healthy sturgeon are born flyers. They're packed with white muscle, tough tissue that works like an afterburner. At peak performance, white muscle allows sturgeon to launch their huge girth clear out of the water, reaching 6 feet.
You can imagine trying to drag in, an 8-foot sturgeon that is sideways, that is flailing. It's going to make for a great fight, a difficult fight. It's just a huge pull on you.
But unlike other flying monsters, bottom-feeding predator-free sturgeon don't leap to corral prey or avoid danger. Instead, one theory suggests they jump to communicate. Some experts believe sturgeon use flying leaps to mark their territory, like GPS tracking, alerting other sturgeon to the location of deep water, prized sturgeon feeding ground. Yet no matter why they jump, one thing's certain: once hooked, sturgeon take off.
It's like watching a missile come out of the river, just head first, and then straight up, twisting in the air. You can't describe it.
Even for skilled fishermen like the DiDomenicos, flying sturgeon are no easy catch. Now, Captain Brian searches for deep pockets in the river floor where these bottom feeders hunt their favorite prey. The Fraser River was once brimming with giant sturgeon, but overfishing and habitat loss have taken their toll. Today, white sturgeon angling is exclusively catch and release. Finding just the right spot, the men drop anchor. After some baiting tips from Captain Brian,
One hook through the side and out the back, swing it all the way back.
the two anglers cast into the river.
Yeah, tight. Perfect.
But in the murky waters, there's zero visibility.
You don't see what's in the water. You're hunting something you don't see.
Suddenly, Gino's rod starts spinning. He's got a bite. Clutching hard, Gino lurches forward, struggling to keep his hold on the pole. The fish is a pulling machine, and it's headed straight for the bottom depths.
The pole kind of feels like you're holding a bus off a skyscraper with a rope.
Gino does his best to hang on.
Yeah, I got a pretty good one there, man. Yeah.
Then, in a sudden burst, the fish leaps from the water.
That's a big fish.
The brothers are stunned. It's a whopper white sturgeon. And it hits back down in the water with an ear-stinging splash.
Nice, I got it. Got it on video.
We saw the underbelly, which was all white. Kind of looked like when a shark jumps out of the water, and it was shocking.
When it first came out of the water, it was kind of like watching a sea monster. It was massive. It was nothing I've ever seen before.
Gino's blown away by the sturgeon's strength, in and above water. As he grips the rod, the fish makes another leap. Plunging back down, deep like a crushing weight. Exhausted from the strain, Gino's arms are almost numb. Mike sees his brother struggling and rushes to help.
Yeah, take a turn.
You got it?
Yeah,
Got it.
Mike grabs the pole, taking on the next round.
Half of me was passing it on because he needed to feel the pull.
Yeah, this is bigger than I thought.
And the other half of it was because I was exhausted and I didn't think I could hold on that much longer.
I don't feel like I have anything. I feel like this guy's got me.
Each time the anglers feel their arms about to give out,
My back's hurting.
they pass the rod. After this tag team tug of war, the sturgeon starts to slow down. Gino marshals his strength for the final pull, praying he can reel in the flying beast. Brothers Mike and Gino DiDomenico are deep in a tag team tug of war, battling a whopper flying white sturgeon.
Yeah, this is bigger than I thought.
In a rush, the sturgeon rises to the surface.
I've never seen anything so big in my life.
The DiDomenico brothers finally see their supersized opponent face to face.
I mean, my jaw was on the floor and trying to figure out how we're gonna get this thing on the boat.
It takes every last deckhand to heft the hulking beast. At last, with a heave, they've got it.
Oh, that looks like about an 8-footer there, 7-8-footer.
Victorious, the men measure the monster at over 2 meters long and an estimated 90+ kilos.
It was an accomplishment. There was some pride, and it felt good.
Snapping a fast photo, they waste no time releasing the fish back to its lair.
After having pulled it in, I initially called everybody I knew my cell phone just to tell people that I just caught a monster.
Come up. Oh my God. That's a big fish.
But in another flying fish habitat, a soaring creature seems to defy its own species. In Baja, Mexico, stalking the Sea of Cortez, bizarre flattened beasts sail out of the water, looking more like birds than fish. Known as mobula rays, scientists believe surface swimming helps mobulas corral their prey. Then, to finish the job, they power through the air like flying birds, reaching nearly 2 meters above the surface, landing with predator precision. Like the mobulas, other rays can fly. But only one mammoth beast trumps them all. Majestic and monstrous, for them, the same principles of aerodynamics become hydrodynamics. Unlike any other creature on Earth, these seaborne stalkers literally soar through the ocean. The giant manta ray. And for one team of scientists, wrangling the giant manta barehanded is the ultimate challenge of man versus flying beast. Sea of Cortez, Mexico, November 2nd, 2003. Dr. Robert Rubin is one of the world's leading experts studying giant mantas. He's determined to bring these incredible ocean flyers back from the brink of overfished extinction.
Just as long as it clears the underside of the boat. Right.
Robert and his research associate Gavin Chilcott are prepping an expedition to a remote group of volcanic islands over 500 kilometers southwest of Cabo San Lucas, nicknamed Mexico's Galapagos. It's one of the few spots in the world where researchers can monitor some of the biggest manta rays on the planet. The team travels a full day to reach the islands, but their work's just begun. Robert and Gavin want to uncover data about the ray's behavior and migration. To do it, they've got to make prolonged dives and attach sound-emitting tracking devices called acoustic tags to the biggest rays they can find.
These are the receivers for the listening station. Placed underwater, they'll be anchored to the seafloor, suspended by a float. This portion is the receiver.
To tag these elusive creatures, Robert often has to make as many as 12 attempts in shark-infested waters.
Going into a trip like this, there's a lot of uncertainty as to how well everything's going to work.
Their target, a truly otherworldly beast. At 1.5 tons, giant mantas look like flying saucers out of science fiction.
Mantas are among the largest animals in the sea, and they certainly are the largest ray. They're a little bit bigger than a two-car garage, from wingtip to wingtip.
Gliding through the water, wing-like pectoral fins can stretch more than 6 meters, muscling mantas across miles of ocean. But make no mistake, giant mantas can be as flexible as flying acrobats.
You'd barely imagine until you see them twisting barrel rolls and maneuvering around in tight circumstances. They're actually quite agile.
Though generally considered harmless to humans, for a team of researchers determined to tag them, tangling with these titanic beasts can quickly turn hazardous. Now, preparing to plunge to their whopper target, the team suits up.
All right, are we ready? Let's go.
Diving down, they first attach a sonar receiver to a reef. This listening device will monitor the tag ray's location and activity. With the receiver in place, Robert and Gavin head to where they know mantas hang out, hotspots dubbed the cleaning stations.
The fish rise up out of the reef and move all over the animals, cleaning parasites into their gills, into their mouths.
Working underwater is more than challenging, it's dangerous. Burdened with heavy equipment, Robert and Gavin must navigate strong currents, and they're always on the lookout for hungry hunters.
There's a lot of sharks around all the time when you're working on the mantas. And so it helps to have another person there looking over your shoulder for you.
Robert sets up on a rock plateau and scans the ocean for a monster manta. He spots a large ray approaching. He checks his tagging gun and swims towards the beast.
Maneuvering to get close enough to a ray to deploy a tag is a little bit of a dance, I think, with the animal.
Robert has to get as close as possible, at least 1 to 2 meters directly over the fast-moving fish. Even then, hitting the tagging sweet spot, the middle of the ray's lower back, requires extreme precision. Robert fires and misses. The ray flies away. Robert only has a limited number of tags and air. He quickly resets and waits for another ray. The longer the tagging process takes, the greater the risk of spooking the mantas out of reach. Robert spots a huge ray approaching. This time, he pursues, fires, and hits it.
The scales on the animal are arranged like shingles on a roof. If you place it in the correct spot at the right angle, it's just like putting a very sharp knife into butter.
The tag is in. Looking at his handiwork, Robert's perfectly snagged a 4.5 meter wide giant manta ray. Now, as the flying fish swims through the ocean, it can collect and transmit invaluable species-saving information. Mission accomplished.
90% of what I do is generated from just loving every moment, and they are magical beyond belief. I can't think of anything I'd rather do, day in or day out, ever.
Leaping, soaring, taking to the sky like aerial masters. Whether fighting for survival or hunting their next meal, they're the most extraordinary flyers of our rivers and oceans. And for science and sport, each unforgettable encounter brings us closer to hooked flying monsters.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Fighting black marlin.
The fish just took off ripping and just all hell broke loose.
We came, we saw, and we tagged.
Colossal swamp creatures.
I've had people cut on the face with them.
Keep going, rope!
Speed demon whoppers.
Okay, watch the rope!
It was going so fast that the reel actually started smoking.
And supersized predators of the deep.
It pulled me from one end of the boat clear to the other side of the boat, and I thought I was going in the water.
For science, sport, and food, it's the most extreme encounters in our eternal quest for big fish tails. Astoundingly huge, impressively fast, incredibly strong. They dominate the deep. Some are prehistoric predators. Others so mysterious we know little of how they live, breed, hunt, and survive. In oceans, rivers, bayous, and even aquariums, each monster fish encounter brings us closer to understanding them, protecting them, and marveling at their size. With almost limitless capacity to grow, feeding non-stop, the longer they live, the bigger they get.
Almost all species of fish have what we call indeterminate growth. They grow throughout their entire lives. If it takes a long life and a genetic propensity, you have to have the right genes.
Marlin, muscular, massive, tenacious. Among the sea's fiercest fighters and hunters, these monster fish prowl the planet's biggest oceans in search of prey.
They hunt more like a lion might hunt.
Apex predators, marlin dominate the food chain. Averaging 3 meters long, reaching 450 kilograms, they have few natural enemies. But to big game prey like squid, they're a lethal threat. From rapier bill to propeller tail, marlin are near perfect killing machines.
They'll come up under a fish and just come screaming through the water and hit the fish from below and knock the fish out of the water.
These relentless hunters have a major natural advantage: red muscle. Packed with blood vessels, red muscle is rich in oxygen for energy and power. Kilogram for kilogram, marlin carry so much red muscle, they fight like conditioned athletes with focus, stamina, and force, killing and feeding across thousands of kilometers of hunting grounds.
A big blue marlin or black marlin probably swims on the order of over 1,000 miles a year. And if they live to be 20 or 30 years old, it's 30,000 miles.
Hunting so well, marlin keep growing, reaching as much as 800 kilograms. Some believe they get even larger, whoppers no human has ever seen. For anglers, it all adds up to one thing: landing a formidable fighting marlin is the challenge of a lifetime.
I think every fisherman has at some point in their life aspired to catching a marlin. They are the ultimate game fish.
January 2005. Panama's Zane Grey Reef. World-renowned fisherman, artist, and marine biologist Dr. Guy Harvey and his crew are trolling the open waters on a mission to tag black marlin.
We want to find out where these guys go after they come through Panama. Most people's interaction with them is at the other end of a fishing line. I've just taken it one step further. The new technology has allowed us to put a mini computer on the animal, to travel with it, to give us its precise location where it goes.
Pop-up satellite archive tags, or PSAT, are the next best thing to swimming alongside a whopper fish. To attach one, biologists like Guy Harvey shoot a small spear-like unit into the top of a captured fish. Back in the water, the PSAT tracks and records the fish's depth, water temperature, and location. At a predetermined time, the tag detaches and sends its stored data back to a computer via satellite. It's technology similar to global positioning, or GPS, and it's making a big difference.
These pop-up satellite archival tags allow us now to follow these fish even when they are in the middle of the ocean, and so we know when they move, where they go to, how deep they swim, whether or not they've been feeding at that depth, and it's just opened up really quite a bit of new information.
Guy and fellow angler Bill Shedd are successfully catching and tagging 200-kilogram marlin when Guy receives a radio communication. Another world-class fisherman, Neil Patrick, is also out fishing marlin, and he's reeling in a whopper. Guy and Bill are intrigued. They decide to sail over, hoping to catch a glimpse of a monster fish. On his boat, Neil Patrick believes he's hooked a world record. He's already put in hours keeping the fighting, leaping marlin on his line.
And it did several jumps where it cleared the water completely, about 2 or 3 feet out of the water. And this fish is 15 feet long, so it was an impressive sight.
Neil makes a momentous decision. Instead of landing the marlin for the record, he wants Guy Harvey to tag it.
Every angler aspires to catching an IGFA world record at some point in their life. For Neil to have given up the chance of possibly getting the 50-pound test black marlin world record was a big thing to give up.
Guy and Bill Shedd pull up alongside Neil Patrick's boat. Guy faces a huge challenge. Beneath the waters, the fighting fish is getting dangerously tired. To tag him safely, Guy has to get the marlin to the boat fast.
When they start jumping, they expend a great deal of energy in a short time, and they get tired very quickly. Often when they're released, they can't swim away in their normal speed, and so they become susceptible to predation, primarily by large sharks.
Guy hatches a daring plan. To bring the marlin in fast as possible, he'll hook it to an additional fishing line. No fisherman's ever done this before. With 2 lines attached, the team can reel it twice as fast, tagging it quickly and successfully releasing it. Guy hopes it'll work, but to do it, he's got to meet this monster fish face to face.
And he says, well, we can't bring Mohammed to the mountain. We'll take the mountain to Mohammed here. He said, look, I'll swim down and attach a second line. And I thought, well, that ain't gonna happen, but you're Guy Harvey, so let's try.
Guy hits the water. He's an accomplished swimmer, but he's no match for a marlin, fish that can easily reach speeds over 60 kilometers an hour.
And most human beings can't swim at that speed, let alone wearing diving gear.
Swimming down with a line in your hand, 40 feet under the water, trying to catch up to this marlin that's more than 1,200 pounds, that's not an easy thing to do. In fact, that's never going to happen again in the history of fishing.
Guy makes repeated attempts. The effort is exhausting and risky.
Every time I get close to it, previously, she would kick away. Again, all of that is cause for concern because it's sudden movements like that that will cause the line to break if the drag is too high.
He goes for a final try. After fighting for hours, the tired fish is slowing down. At last, 12 meters underwater, Guy approaches the biggest marlin he's ever seen.
Just to be in the company of an animal like that was exhilarating.
Working carefully, Guy attaches the second fishing line by hooking it to a metal clasp connected to Neil Patrick's existing line. The effect, 2 fishing poles leading to 1 fish.
And I'm thinking, it's going to get tight here real quick. And then it did, and the fish just took off ripping, and just all hell broke loose.
Marlin will fight to the death. The team has no time to lose. Working hard, they reel the immense marlin close to the boat to tag it. Successful tagging takes precision and focus. Any delay could cost the fish's life.
The fish is pretty tired, and in fact, he rolled her over, which is a sign of defeat for the fish, and not a good sign for us, because black marlin, typically when they roll like that, they're going to die within the next 2 or 3 minutes. So we had to act very quickly.
At last, after fighting a possible world record marlin underwater and above for nearly 4.5 hours, the 7-man super team pulls off the impossible. The fish is tagged.
Cut it! We get it! Yes, Neil! Yeah, Neil!
The giant swims back into the deep, alive. The tagging makes news around the world. Experts estimate the 4-meter fish weighs as much as 550 kilograms. It's the largest marlin ever electronically tagged.
Knowing all that Guy went through, all that Neil went through, it was really a cool feeling to be a part of it. And I think it was just I think I shouted, you know, Neil, attaboy, awesome.
Yeah, Neil!
In nature's precarious food chain, apex predators like marlin help keep the ocean species in balance. Tagging them gives scientists critical insight into how these big fish behave and survive, information vital to protecting them. But as Guy Harvey's tagging mission proved, sometimes saving big fish is the toughest test of all.
I think the crew understood the value of tagging such a big animal. It had to be by far the biggest marlin that they had ever caught. It was certainly by far the biggest marlin I'd ever dived with.
Monster fish rule our watery depths, but one behemoth's as peculiar as it is powerful. Fierce, fearsome, the hammerhead.
There's not been a lot of work done on these fish, and it's mostly because their sharks are really difficult to hold in captivity.
One thing biologists do know, hammerheads can get very big. Some grow 6 meters long, longer than a military Humvee, averaging over 300 kilograms. Record hammerhead have weighed more than a quarter ton. They cruise coastal waters eating big game fish, hunting with a lethal 6th sense.
They can sense electrical fields, they can sense changes in vibrations in the water. Anything unusual will attract a shark. You know, if the shark's around, an injured fish doesn't usually last very long.
Sharks have built-in homing devices running under their skin, vibration sensors called ampullae of Lorenzini. On a hammerhead, these sensors spread out across their antenna-like heads. The result? Hunting hammerhead can scan a larger area, zeroing in on more prey. It's an advantage that helps them grow to huge proportions. Like all sharks, hammerheads lack buoyancy. Stop swimming and they'll sink. Hammerhead combat this with their fins and face.
Their fins, those are shaped like a plane's wings, and by moving through the water, it provides lift. As long as they're swimming forward, they can keep themselves from sinking. On a hammerhead shark, the head may well provide some lift as well.
Their design also makes them powerful swimmers, capable of covering vast distances without tiring out.
They just keep on going and going and going. They just never, it's like they never stop.
May 2006. Florida's Boca Grande Pass. Expert angler Captain Bucky Dennis has decades of experience fishing for big game. His ultimate dream? Landing a record-sized hammerhead.
You know, it's like the heavyweight championship belt.
Bucky sets out alone on a 23-foot flatboat. straps on a fishing harness, drops his line, and waits. As small and medium-sized sharks circle, he maneuvers his bait out of their reach. He's saving it for a whopper. Suddenly, he sees a monster. The hammerhead chomps down on the bait. Bucky feels a powerful pull. The fisherman's got to fight to stay seated as this Goliath takes him for the ride of his life.
Just started heading offshore, and the further offshore we went, the more I knew it was a big hammerhead.
The hammerhead swims steadily underwater without letting up, pulling the boat further offshore. The tug-of-war rages for 6 back-breaking hours. The hammerhead tows the boat a staggering 19 kilometers out to sea. In the open waters, Bucky's nearly spent and pushing his luck. Any wrong move could cost him more than his catch. It could drag him overboard, bringing him face to face with the fearsome fighting predator.
The longer the fight went on with the shark, the more you think about, what could go wrong. If you're not careful, bad things could happen. One little slip up and you can lose a hand or an arm or anything, really.
But with a final pull, Bucky reels the shark toward him. At last, after a terrifying tug-of-war that almost took him to the point of no return, Bucky Dennis realizes a lifelong dream. A massive hammerhead caught.
Then I got to see how really big it was. Then I knew that it was a world record.
To help safeguard the future of these great hammerheads, Bucky donated his prize catch to a marine biology research lab. Autopsies on such large specimens help scientists analyze everything from diet to the effects of pollution on shark organs and tissue. It's vital information in the fight to protect these monster fish from extinction. But tragically, the same anatomy that helped sharks pull a boat for 19 kilometers has also become their greatest threat, their fins. Prized in China for the expensive delicacy shark fin soup, each year, countless sharks die from a practice called finning.
Finning is the practice of cutting the fins off a shark and throwing the rest of the fish back, frequently alive.
No longer able to keep water moving over their gills, finned sharks sink to the bottom and suffocate. Efforts to stop finning through legislation and enforcement are ongoing. For scientists and fishermen alike, finning is a prime example of the need for global action to save powerful predators like the hammerhead from decimation. Among the world's mightiest monster fish, some are stealth bombers, colossal, clever, nearly invisible, stalking the edge of the abyss. The halibut.
They're one of the really, really large fish. These things get enormous.
King of the bottom dwellers, they're the planet's largest flatfish. Soon after birth, halibut adjust to swim on their sides, turning their mottled gray topside to face up. It's an ingenious adaptation. To potential prey and predators alike, the flesh looks like ocean floor. This clever camouflage puts halibut in control and helps them grow enormous. Some halibut reach gigantic proportions, long as 2.5 meters and up to 300 kilograms. When size meets stealth, it's a monster combination. And under stress, halibut pack a mean punch. For fishermen, it's a dangerous trade in close encounters where flailing fins can break bones.
There are a lot of stories of halibut coming into a boat and doing a lot of damage, not only to the boat, but causing harm.
June 1996. Alaska's Dutch Harbor in the Aleutian Islands, the United States' top fishing port, hub of the profitable king crab industry. Rich with big game fish, Dutch Harbor yields hundreds of millions of kilograms of catch a year. And draws amateur anglers by the thousands. Weekend angler Jack Tragus and his fishing buddies head out into the North Pacific with a rented boat and crew. In the heart of halibut country, they're looking to catch some hefty specimens.
Jack, you're giving up. You're giving up, slide.
But it's a disappointing start.
Had a beer and had a sandwich, and Henry said, well, let's go guys, enough here.
Then, out of nowhere, Jack feels a tug on his line. It's so strong, he thinks he's hit a snag.
Stuck, I'm stuck.
The boat captain thinks Jack's hit something else, something alive.
Henry says, Jack, he says, let me just touch that rod a minute. And he says, that is a big fish. And I says, right. And he says, you want to play that for a world record?
Whatever it is, it's stubborn.
It's a monster. I think he's hung up on the bottom.
Hard as Jack pulls, the fish stays rooted to the bottom.
Well, you got us out 450 feet now.
But the fish is on a mission. It gradually pulls the unanchored boat over a plunging underwater crater to hide.
I had a bow in it, I had my back into it, I had my foot up on the gunwale, and there wasn't any stopping it. It was just going out. And then Henry started calling the depth, and at one point it was 480 feet.
As the fish hunkers down deeper, Jack's got to fight even harder to stay hooked. The exhausted angler's feeling the strain. He gives a final tug. In a sudden burst, the fish fights back, almost pulling Jack overboard.
I grabbed the fish, put a little pressure on it. It pulled me from one end of the boat clear to the other side of the boat, and I thought I was going in the water. I had to get down and brace myself.
Jack gathers his strength for one last pull.
Kept reeling and reeling and reeling, and all of a sudden I got enough line up and I managed to feel the fish.
He reels frantically. As he gets the fish to the surface at last, no one can believe their eyes. Now, Jack and his fishing buddies face the biggest challenge yet, getting the monster fish on the boat.
Give us a hand! Everybody pull! Let's bring him in. Get the hell out of the way.
It takes the entire 5-angler crew to wrestle the whopper to the deck.
That's one big fish. That's all I can say.
The flat fish stretches more than 1.5 meters across and more than 2.5 meters from tail to mouth. Its weight, a whopping 208 kilograms, as much as 15 times heavier than an average catch. A world record. In major fishing economies like Dutch Harbor, monitored sustainable practices such as size limits, catch quotas, and fishing zone restrictions allow healthy populations to thrive. Precautions increasingly important to save species and an industry threatened by overfishing.
Pacific halibut has sustained this fishery since the late 1800s without ever being overfished. It's a pretty remarkable success story, which really is, I think, a good lesson for us that if you manage a fishery properly, you can sustain a very high harvest indefinitely.
For all who enjoy them, an appreciation of these incredible creatures helps raise conservation awareness, something many passionate anglers live by.
I can hardly wait as my grandson grows, and I only hope, God willing, that I'm able to take him fishing. We're going to do whatever we have to do to help preserve the fishery. That's what will preserve the fish. My love for the fishing and those like me that want the fish and want to continue fishing.
Solitary, streamlined, and built like torpedoes. The Wahoo. In the world of monster fish, these are the speed demons. Capable of growing nearly 2.5 meters and weighing over 80 kilograms, Wahoo can get hefty. But they stay sleek, with a tail like a secret weapon.
Very high frequency tail beat. It's very narrow, very steep in profile so that it can beat very, very quickly.
Unlike broad-bodied fish, the Wahoo's narrow tail displaces relatively little water, but it also meets less water resistance, allowing it to flutter or beat extremely fast. This turbocharged propeller helps Wahoo swim and hunt at over 70 kilometers an hour. Some biologists believe, for their size, they're the world's fastest fish, overcoming prey and avoiding predators with lightning speed. A huge boost for getting big. And Wahoo do more than just swim fast. They also grow fast. Incredibly, in one research study, a tagged 5-kilogram Wahoo tripled its entire body size in only 12 months. In the ocean's cutthroat food chain, the less time spent small and vulnerable, the better. For big fish, fast growth's a big advantage.
A human equivalent of being like 800 pounds when you were, 1 year old.
For fishermen, these solitary, super-fast hunters are prized and elusive.
When you find one that is real big, it's a real big deal.
July 2005, the warm waters off the coast of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. 15-year-old Sarah Hayward's fishing with her father, Tim.
It's getting around 12 o'clock and it was real hot, and so we're like, we'll just turn in early.
Suddenly, Sarah's fishing reel starts to wail.
It starts like singing. It's just going off.
The line sometimes will make a little sound when it's really starting to get stressed. And the strain on it was real great.
Grabbing hold of the rod, Sarah feels something strong pulling hard against her.
It was so forceful that something that powerful was there in the water. Something like that you don't get every day.
Sarah struggles to keep hold. Tim cheers her on.
I said, come on, Sarah, you can do it. You can do it. I know you can.
And my dad is next to me, and he's like supporting me, like, you can do it, you got it, don't give up.
But it's a tough test of endurance against a fish who shows no signs of giving up.
I'm exhausted. My arms are killing me. All this work that went into fighting the fish, I lost every ounce of energy in my body.
And Sarah's reel is dangerously overheating.
The deckhand, I think his biggest worry was that it would get so hot that it would kind of break down the line.
There was one point for me when I was reeling it in, and it jetted off, and it was going so fast that the reel actually started smoking, and they were pouring water on it.
As the brutal battle wears on, Sarah's almost ready to give up. Suddenly, she feels the line go slack. Convinced she's lost her catch, she looks down into the water and sees the biggest fish of her life.
I see this figure under the boat, like I see like this silver shape in the water. And so I start reeling in again, faster and faster and faster.
Re-energized, with all hands helping, Sarah's determined to land the whopper fish.
Heart pumping, adrenaline rush. It was like a big battle for me and I had to win.
In a furious fight to the finish, at last, she's got it. And it's a monster.
This is the biggest wahoo I've ever seen. It's this huge monster fish.
The Haywards are convinced it's a record breaker, but they have no idea by how much. At the dock, Sarah and the wahoo cause a sensation.
People are taking pictures and there's this one guy and he was like, "Who caught this fish?" And I was like, "I did." He was like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "Yeah, I really caught this fish." He totally didn't believe me. I'm a girl from Nacogdoches, Texas, and nobody knows where that is, and there's no way that I just caught a world record fish.
The monster stretches nearly 2.5 meters, weighing in at 83 kilograms, decimating the existing record by more than 10 kilograms. Committed conservationists, the Haywards donate the wahoo for research.
Because the wahoo is somewhat difficult to track down and get a real bead on, there's not a lot that's understood about the wahoo. A lot more research has to be done with this fish so that people can understand those things and we can really get a good handle on how to protect it and nurture it back and keep the populations up.
As a general rule, the Haywards and an increasing number of sports fishermen practice catch and release, letting even prize catches go free. It's a trend with tremendous impact.
There's almost a great deal of peer pressure about catch and release. Catch your fish, catch a quick picture, turn that fish back and let it live on, let it go.
And catch and release techniques are improving with new understanding of the dangers of overtaxing big fish. Increasingly, anglers recognize time is a matter of life and death. The faster a fish is hooked, reeled in, and released, the greater its chances for survival. Snouts like reptiles, rows of teeth like sharks, and scales like chainmail. One of freshwater's most ferocious prehistoric monster fish, the alligator gar.
This is a fish that looks as tough as it is.
These ancient fish have prowled warm water bayous, rivers, and lakes virtually unchanged for millions of years. In addition to fish, gar eat meat like birds and reptiles. And gar get gargantuan, commonly reaching lengths nearly 2 meters, weighing more than 40 kilograms.
They eat anything they want to eat. They can catch any fish that's here. And they keep eating and growing all their life. They never stop growing.
What's the secret to gar growth? It comes down to a few major physical advantages. One covers them from head to tail, thousands of bony scales that fit like a suit of armor and protect them from predators like actual alligators.
The scales interlock from the front to the back. As you can see, they start here and each one overlaps the one behind it. They're really hard like a bone. I've seen them with their nose broke. I've seen them with their backs in an L shape. Just injuries that another fish couldn't take, and they'll just keep going.
Another advantage is highly unusual. Gar can breathe air, surviving above water for up to 2 hours. The same trait allows them to thrive in low oxygen waters, feeding and continuing to grow when other fish die.
Where another fish has to breathe oxygen from the water, and during stagnant, times of the year and stuff, the other fish will die off. And alligator gar will still be able to survive because they can come up and gulp air.
But the biggest boost to gar growth is their bony mouth. Inside these hard, snapping jaws jut needle-like teeth that can puncture flesh.
I've had people bit on the shoulder with them. I've had people get their leg of their pants tore off. I've had people cut on the face with them.
This fierce, armored species has almost no natural predators. Even humans have a hard time catching them.
You just have to continuously, get smarter as you go because the fish, they didn't live that long by being stupid,
This professional gar fishing guide practices catch and release. His method marries sport with conservation. It's all about how gar bite.
They have so much bite pressure down that if she doesn't get the hook inside of her mouth and while she's chewing the bait, she'll crush the hook just completely.
Treble hooks are a life-saving design. Traditional single-prong J-hooks snag inside a fish as they're pulled upwards, tearing organs. But a 3-prong treble hook divides the load of the upward pull more evenly. The result? The hook stays put without tearing tissue. Plus, the hooks use metal that's actually digestible.
I think you did. They're made out of light brass wire, and what will happen is that hook will go in the stomach. The stomach acid will typically start breaking the hook down very fast.
June 2005. The afternoon sun heats up Texas's 900-kilometer Trinity River. Fishing journalist Doug Stange and alligator gar guide Kirk Kirkland are on the hunt for gar.
I've tried to go fishing for alligator gar for many years, but all you get is people who do not appreciate the fish. They don't know how to actually go after them very well. And he is the first guy that could actually convince me that he knew what he was talking about.
In the boat, the men watch the water closely. The red float will signal if and when they get a bite. All at once, it dips.
Something's happening here. Something's going on.
Never letting the float out of their sight, Kirk and Doug wait. Under the cloudy waters, the fish feeds on the bait. It's a game of cat and mouse. The men follow the moving fish, keeping tension on the line. At last, the wait is over. Kirk's confident the fish has swallowed the bait and the hook.
Here we go. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at this.
The resistance surprises them. This gar's got muscle.
She is just towing us around.
And she's just that massive. I mean, she just pulled the boat around with us.
Come on. Man, oh man. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, big gar, big gar. Can't make her do it.
With Doug pulling hard, the fish surfaces.
Here she comes, here she comes. Judas Priest. She is immense. I've never seen anything quite like that.
That is a big fish.
That is unbelievable.
I mean, that is a big gar.
All right, here we go. There she comes. Oh, it's a big fish.
Yeah, she's not ready yet.
But the supersized specimen's too heavy to land with fishing line. To bring it on board, it's gonna take something special. Using a custom-built sling, Kirk and Doug struggle to get the phenomenal fish into the boat.
She's still got a lot of fight in her, too. Slow down, slow down. There she goes. She's going to go through the swamp. It's okay. Wow, we made her mad. Okay. Let me win. Okay, come on. Let's go. I can't do it. Hang on. Let me get closer to you. Ready? Come on. What a fish. Close up there.
Holy cow.
At last, the huge predators on board.
That's one of the biggest fish I've ever caught out of the river.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That is unbelievable.
Well, you hit the lottery again. You should have been in Vegas. Wow. That is an awesome fish.
Using a mathematical formula approved by the International Game Fish Association, Kirk calculates its weight at over 107 kilograms.
8 feet 2 inches long.
Devoted to safeguarding the survival of the species, the men release the gar back into the muddy waters unharmed.
This is one of the finest experiences that I have ever had in my entire career in sport fishing.
Any fish that's able to survive that long, you know, we should want to put that fish back and you know, do everything we can to make sure it survives, you know, for another 100,000 years.
Among the ocean's monster fish, some giants rule with sheer brute strength. Muscular and massive, the tuna's a heavyweight champion.
It really is like being hooked into a car. They don't do anything flashy, they just fight. They just pull hard, and the strength, it's legendary.
Powerful synchronized swimmers, tuna cut through the ocean in a shimmering surge. One of the largest fish to swim in schools, tuna corral their prey, engulfing smaller fish and feeding together. These highly successful predators range around the world.
These fish, absolute sports cars of the sea. Tuna swim across the ocean pretty casually. I mean, for you and I, this would be a major trip. For them, this is just a jaunt.
But from albacore to yellowfin, no tuna tops the bluefin, behemoths that regularly grow to hundreds of kilograms, stretching more than 2.5 meters and beyond. How do these tuna get so big? Part of it comes down to an amazing adaptation, warm-bloodedness. Tuna have huge quantities of oxygen-rich red muscle that helps these athletic swimmers generate and retain heat, keeping their bodies a full 15 to 20 degrees warmer than the surrounding ocean. Down deep, staying warm means more than survival. It's an all-access hunting pass, allowing tuna to feed on prey in regions too cold for other fish to hunt. Amazingly, only polar regions are off limits.
Because they've evolved this ability to maintain their body temperatures above the water temperature, are able to exploit resources that it's just not available to other species.
Another advantage is speed. These powerhouse predators can swim more than 80 kilometers an hour. To the untrained eye, their bulky bodies look far from streamlined, but tuna are built to charge.
They just seem almost too fat to be a fast-swimming fish. There have been tests done in tanks measuring the resistance of these fish in the water, and it turns out that that shape is the most hydrodynamic shape.
Even for the best fishermen, tackling tuna strength is the ultimate challenge.
You got to be careful not to blow yourself out and like run yourself out of energy, you know, before the fight ends, because it could go on for hours.
Okay, watch the rope! Watch the rope!
September 2005. The South Pacific waters off the west coast of New Zealand in the Tasman Sea. Legendary Auckland angler Peter Jackson heads out with a group of friends for a few nights of tuna fishing. Even for skilled sportsmen, these rough waves demand serious sea legs.
It's usually generally perceived as the Wild West, and it's pretty isolated and real rugged seas. It can get quite rough down there, nasty.
As the group hits the open ocean, they sense tuna all around them. Monster fish coursing and feeding beneath them.
They're not afraid of, don't seem to be afraid of anything. And they obviously travel around in schools most of the time. I don't think they got much to fear at all.
On this trip, Peter Jackson's determined to catch a whopper. In 2000, he became the first to snag a giant 198-kilogram bluefin on rod and reel. Now, Peter hopes to up the ante with an even bigger fish. Deep into the third night of fishing, he gets a bite. Whatever he's got, it's huge. Peter braces himself, harnessed and standing for maximum leverage. He knows hooking a big tuna's no guarantee to catching it. With their tremendous strength, tuna will fight to get away for as long as they can.
That fish just took out probably 700 metres of line in one go. And then it just took off again and took another 600 or 700 metres of line out. Yeah, it was just unbelievable.
The night wears on. Peter struggles to stay alert. Too much strain and the line will snap. Too much slack and the fish can get away. Beyond experience, it takes strength and endurance.
It is pretty exhausting because it can carry on for so long. It's really physically demanding and you can get pretty worn out by the end of it. That fight was by far the hardest, the toughest.
Peter's friends on board can only watch. If another angler touches his fishing pole, any potential world record's invalid. At last, Peter sees the giant tuna at the surface. It's slowing down. With a final burst of energy, he begins to reel it toward the boat. But with so much muscle and mass pulling against him, Peter risks getting pulled overboard.
Those fish are a lot bigger than a human. It does happen that occasionally that people do get pulled in.
The men rush to secure the whopper with a strong commercial winch. Every move matters.
Nice work, boys. Nice work.
The slightest mistake, and the prize fish could get away.
Where's the bed? Where's the bed?
The Herculean effort pays off. A bluefin behemoth caught.
Everyone's eyes are popping out of their head and thinking, Jesus, look at the size of this thing.
Scales confirm it. The whopper's 280 kilograms, more than 80 kilograms heavier than Peter's 2000 record tuna. 2.5 meters long and wide as a refrigerator, it's an astounding specimen.
It's just such a thrill, you know, it's all adrenaline and emotions of anxiety and all sorts of things going through your head. You don't expect it to be the big one.
But this magnificent species faces a much bigger battle. Heavy commercial fishing has reduced tuna numbers worldwide.
They're worth a huge amount of money. There have been individual fish that have sold in the Japanese market for over $100,000. People fish very hard for very few fish because it just doesn't take very many fish to make your year.
One way to help endangered tuna? Eat less. In a market driven by supply and demand, less demand equals less profit. As more and more bluefin disappear from the earth, consumers can make a species-saving difference. In addition, wildlife organizations ask countries to forfeit half their annual bluefin quotas, leaving the remaining fish in the sea. The more these nations cooperate, the more monster fish can bounce back from the edge of annihilation. We marvel at their size, strength, and speed. Leviathans of the deep, titanic creatures we're just beginning to understand. We meet them in the most extreme encounters through science, industry, and sport. Now more than ever, to enjoy these supersized species, we must respect them and work to keep our world filled with mammoth monster fish.